everyone. You're listening to Just a Little Stitious podcast. I'm Jessica.
And I'm her sister Megan, also known as the Queer Crypt on TikTok.
Whether you're driving, tidying up the house, or hanging out someplace cozy, we want you to hang out with us for a little while. Or as Megan would say, get creeped out.
That's right. We'll be bringing you stories of extreme hauntings, paranormal news, cryptid sightings, urban legends, basically everything that goes bump in the night.
So if you're up for some eerie tales and a healthy dose of sisterly bullying,
you've come to the right place. Let's get into it. Today, Jessica's going to share some recent paranormal news with us that has been going on in the world. I'm going to deliver Jessica a story of an extreme haunting. That's absolutely terrifying. Then we're going to do a little segment called Would You Rather at the end, which I have an interesting question for. I'm very excited to see your reaction to the story that I'm going to tell you today because there's just so much wild shit that happens.
I hope I'm going to be able to sleep tonight. I'm very nervous about that.
That's funny.
It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to look into.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided the best thing for me to start off with is something that I love, something that I'm interested in, something I believe in. Bigfoot. Yeah.
I knew it.
I started looking through websites and whatever, and it ended up leading me to this Facebook page associated with like a proper like Bigfoot excursion group. Basically, they find posts or people who are willing to talk about encounters and things like that. And then they post it to their group. So that's how I found this story. It happened in October of 2024.
Okay.
At this place called Rocky Boy Reservation. It's in Montana. And just about this place, it's not small. It's like 170 square miles. Like it's big. And a large part of it is mountain, which has berry fields like June berries, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries. And it's not an overly hunted part of Montana. So they have an abundance of wild animals like bear, deer, elk, moose. The mountains don't see a lot of human traffic or any usage, basically. Like,
interesting. Okay.
So, and I just think that's good to know.
Yeah.
For things like this, because it seems like
that would be
somewhere
the
where
spot.
Bigfoot would be, right? And there's also like rivers in there also, which I would think, I mean, I don't know what Bigfoot's into, but I know bears, deers, moose, elk, they'll follow the river. So you never know. And
true.
So you never know. There's these two guys and they're watching Finding Bigfoot. I don't know if you've ever seen that show.
I don't think I have actually.
I never have either, but I've definitely heard about it. So they're watching the show and there had been a Bigfoot encounter in this area in the 60s or 70s. And their grandpa was a part of that. Like he was on a school bus and there was an encounter with Bigfoot.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that was a part of why they wanted to do this, but they're watching the show and him, his brother, and then his girlfriend, the brother's wife, they decide they're going to go to this place it's called Sandy Creek Road. And this is not somewhere that there is no human traffic. People camp there. They have picnics there.
Okay.
It's not a quiet place.
Right.
There's people around.
Right.
So they go and what they want to do is they want to play howling sounds and to see what happens. Like, like the video with the sound, like things like that.
Gotcha. We have a video that a family friend took of a
Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, a terrifying scream in the middle of nowhere. That is probably Bigfoot.
I don't know if you looked into other Bigfoot sounds after hearing that one.
Yeah, they sound the same.
Similar.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah.
So that's what they wanted to play at this place. So they get there, and I'm assuming they wanted to do it on YouTube. They had no service, so they couldn't play the sounds. So instead, they try tree knocking. This guy's brother takes a stick, and the wife and the girlfriend stay in the truck. Brother starts knocking on trees with a stick, and eventually he hits like a really loud one. And within seconds, they kind of notice 25 feet away, up on like this bluff, 2 sets of eye glow. And it's like a bluish white glow that's coming, and it's eyeballs.
Interesting.
And there's 2 sets of it.
Do you know if it was like during the day or at night?
It was somewhere between 11:30 at night.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was dark.
I'd be so freaked out.
So they walk towards where they saw the eye glow. Then like a minute, they're hearing footsteps and twigs breaking. The one guy has his flashlight on and he didn't know that his brother was also recording at the same time. And it gets just like eerily quiet.
The calm before the storm.
For me, I've spent a lot of time in the bush. There's squirrels. There's even at night, like it's not that quiet ever. And I watched the video and it's quiet. So they start panning and then all of a sudden the brother's like, did you see that? Did you see that? Like, I'm not tripping. Did you see that? He's panning the camera and you see in the camera, he catches something behind a tree and it looks like this black figure and you could see the eyes glowing. And you could see it. The thing is with these brothers, because they did an interview and like these two brothers are super credible members of the Chippewa Cree tribe.
Okay.
And this is considered to be like a class A encounter. They're not making this up.
Right.
You watch the video and there's been people who've like dissected the video and like tried to find error. Nothing like that.
Gotcha.
Nothing like that at all. So he catches the Bigfoot in his camera. You see the eyes and everything. You can't see the actual Bigfoot very well from the video. Like it's a homemade video. You can't see it that well, but they describe Bigfoot, which kind of what I was expecting, but also not really. They said he was approximately 8 to 9 feet tall, super muscular. They explained that they saw a 6-pack on this thing, a huge chest, massive arms. And this is the part that I wasn't expecting, is that his hair was clean. Which I would expect Bigfoot to be kind of dirty.
Yeah, and like matted, because I've also heard that like Bigfoot smells fucking gross.
That's the other thing that they say in their interview is that they didn't smell anything.
Oh, okay.
But so I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
But they said like he looked like a gorilla, but like a man, a well-built man. We only see the thing for like a couple seconds in the video. And then I guess the wife that's waiting in the truck, she saw it in the light and she starts screaming at them to like get back in the truck. And they start running back and they get in the truck and they take off. And that's the end of it. I'll show you the video. But after watching that and seeing it, I don't know. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe these guys because from what it sounds like, they're very credible. It doesn't sound like they're the types to try and pull this hoax off.
Right.
Because I looked into it, I looked at what other people were saying about it, what other people had done to the video to like dissect it. I thought it was super.
You believe it?
Well, I thought it was super. Yeah, I believe it. And I thought it was cool because the thing is with Bigfoot, they were watching these guys the entire time that they were there.
Yeah.
Right? Like they'll show themselves when they want to show themselves. They're watching the whole time. There's been times I've been in the bush and I'm thinking about Bigfoot and I'm like, if there is one, he's watching me right now. I'm just sitting here and on my post and he's watching and it freaks me out. But
I want to see the video.
I'm going to show you the video. And then I'm also going to show you a picture that someone else had screenshotted it and then he zoomed in and kind of fixed the quality just a little bit.
Okay, gotcha. And we'll link the video in the description.
What you're looking for in the video is glowing eyes.
Oh, fuck. Right there, right there. Right there. There he is. You see that fucker? Yeah. Holy fuck.
Get the fuck in now!
See that fucker? Go.
Fuck that!
Stop! We're going back.
Oh my God, fuck that!
I think that you can tell almost like just by the way they're talking and their reaction, like they're freaked out. But like, of course, it's one of those things. Like if you're used to being in the bush and they live in this like area that they live in, that's mostly mountain and forest and stuff. They're probably comfortable. So for them to be like freaked out, someone screenshotted the video and then kind of zoomed up a little bit. So you can see more of a figure.
Okay.
And you can definitely see like how big that thing is.
Yeah. Interesting. It definitely looks tall.
The eyes freak me out.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
I do think that's cool. I don't know if I buy it or not, but at the same time, I feel like there's so many incidents of people witnessing Bigfoot. Like there has to be something to it. I mean, even our own family. So
yeah, I like to be super skeptical about these kinds of things because I think lots of people are going to try and pull a fast one on us,
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know. There was something about this one when I was watching it that I was like, you know what? I believe that.
A lot of times we don't know about all of these paranormal experiences or cryptid experiences that people are having right now. Like they happen all the time. So it's really cool to like get a recent experience. Definitely check out the video that we link and the photo and let us know what you think. If you think it's real, if you think that it's not, give us your opinion.
It's real. I believe them. I do.
I am going to tell you about an extreme haunting today. I read about it And the details definitely kept me lying awake at night, like in the dark, creeped out.
Sick.
I'm just going to give you the story as it happens. I'm not giving you any preliminary information. I'm just going to dive right in.
I don't know what that word means, and I feel like you know that.
Preliminary?
I feel like you know that I don't know what that means.
Like, I'm not going to give you any, like, information beforehand.
Oh, all right. So I'm getting it at face value.
Yes. Ignore the lighting change that just happened. This is about a couple named Tony and Debra Pickman. They were newlyweds. Debra was pregnant.
Okay.
And they moved into a rental house in 1993 in Atchison, Kansas.
It's not that long ago.
Not that long ago. This could have been me. I could have been in that house.
Well, you weren't.
Okay. Tony and Debra also had 3 cats and a dog.
Always cat people.
The first incident that occurred, which they now look back and think perhaps that was paranormal, happened only a few days after they moved in. They had a room that was going to be the nursery for the baby. They hadn't decorated it yet. It had nothing in it. Tony was standing in the hallway looking into the nursery and kind of like imagining how they should decorate it and what they should do with the room. He walked away from the room, but their dog Sasha sat in front of the room and started growling aggressively, barking aggressively, like there was something there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like dogs sense that kind of thing too.
Yeah. He couldn't settle her. And this happened several more times over the first week of them living there and then stopped. Perhaps whatever was in the house, Sasha had gotten used to. They moved in right at the beginning of January 1993.
Okay.
The first time they started to actually notice paranormal activity in the house wasn't until Valentine's Day.
Okay.
They were having like an at-home date. Tony had like prepared supper. It was all romantic.
Do you know what they were eating?
I don't know. And they were snuggled up after their evening, snuggled up on the couch, watching TV. And the ceiling light started to dim very slowly, like almost as if someone was like dimming their light.
That's how it starts.
And then it would like stay dim for a while and then go right back up to full brightness. So this ended up happening several times over the next few days. Of course, they were like, this could be an electrical issue. It was an old house. To ensure that it wasn't an electrical issue, which was obviously their first impression, Tony changed the bulbs, he changed the fuses, and they even had an electrician come to the house to make sure that everything was good and safe and there was nothing wrong. The last time it happened, the lights dim and Tony joked to Debra, maybe we have a ghost.
That would have been my initial reaction to the lights dimming.
Me too. Both him and Debra laughed about it, but that was the last time it happened, which is kind of interesting.
Because they acknowledged it and they said it out loud.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
That was the initial little bit of paranormal experience.
Okay.
Starting off light. March rolls around and it's spring in Kansas, is extremely hot. Their air conditioning breaks, which they only had like a window one in one of the rooms, but it stops working. Because it's so hot, Tony and Debra decide they're going to sleep downstairs on the couch. And they start doing this on some nights. They have all the windows and doors open so that there's like a cool breeze through the house.
Right. What? Is it about to get real freaky or what?
They're asleep on the couch in the middle of the night and Debra abruptly wakes up to blood-curdling screams, thumping coming down the stairs. And before she can even open her eyes and like react to what's happening, she feels something heavy strike her face and body. This part's actually kind of funny though. So she wakes up and she screams at the top of her lungs.
Yeah.
Which causes Tony to wake up.
Right.
He screams at the top of his lungs and then she screams back and then he screams back and then they kind of laugh. They're like, what's going on? And they notice that their cats are acting really erratically. They're darting all over the place. Their hair is standing up on end and they're hissing frantically. Deborah's like, okay, well, maybe that's the sound I heard. Like maybe it was the cats meowing and I heard it as a scream and they jumped on me like down the stairs. She doesn't know.
Yeah.
So her and Tony investigate upstairs to make sure that nothing weird's going on that would upset the cats because the cats are still very upset. Nothing upstairs. In June, the activity starts to amp up a tiny bit. Their oven timer starts acting erratic. Just will randomly go off on its own. Debra will set the timer and then it will completely change.
So burn her cookies.
So she's like, whatever, there's something wrong with this timer. And she buys like one of those little egg timers and whatever. And then it was around this time when their son was born and they named him Taylor. So we've got Tony, Debra, and now their son, Taylor. Taylor isn't sleeping through the nights, which I know you've experienced.
As babies do.
He keeps waking up throughout the night. Debra and Tony are new parents. They're exhausted. Debra's sister, Karen, offers to come fly down and just be there for a few days, help them out, let them catch up on some sleep. It's the day before Karen arrives. Debra and baby Taylor are in the room with the air conditioner that's now working. Tony is vacuuming in the nursery. Runs into the room where Debra is and says, like, something strange just happened. She had like a mobile hanging on the crib, a teddy bear mobile. It started playing music and turning on its own. Yeah. But Debra's exhausted. What he's saying doesn't compute.
Yeah.
He thinks he's talking about the baby monitor. And she says, well, if the baby cries for longer than a minute, then the baby monitor plays a lullaby to soothe him to sleep. So that's probably what happened. Like, it heard the vacuum and it went off. So he goes back into the room, continues vacuuming, runs back into the bedroom where Debra and Taylor are again.
Yeah.
And he's like, it happened again. You have to come look at this. And Debra, again, exhausted, is like, no.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this.
Fuck off.
Like,
Fuck off, Tony.
yeah. Like,
Figure it out yourself.
Yeah,
Typical man.
yeah. That's what she's thinking. She's like, I'm fucking taking care of our baby right now. All you have to do is vacuum. You had one job, Tony. But later that night, they discussed what happened, and she realized that he met the baby mobile, and she's like, oh, that is weird. Karen arrives. She winds up sleeping on the couch with the cradle next to her and taking care of the baby throughout the night so that Tony and Debra can catch up on some sleep. Oddly enough, while she's there, the baby stops waking up throughout the night. Kind of weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. One day, all four of them head over to Tony's parents' house for the day. Right before they're about to leave, Tony's sister, Jeannie, drops in. She seems agitated and nervous, and she winds up telling them that she dropped off a high chair at their house while they were gone, and she wound up going to check out the nursery just because she was interested to see how they had decorated it. That's all she says, and they're thinking maybe she just felt guilty for going into the house without, like, them knowing about it first, so they're like, yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
A few minutes later, they head home. Yeah, so they arrive home at 10 p.m. and Tony goes upstairs to use the washroom. And this is also where the nursery is and the master bedroom. He comes downstairs and asks Debra why she put all of the stuffed animals on the floor of the nursery. She had decorated the room with a bunch of stuffed animals and teddy bears and stuff like that. And she's like, what are you talking about? Debra, Tony, and Karen head up towards the nursery, and all of the stuffed animals are sat on the floor in a circle.
Oh, fuck.
With all of their
No
all
way.
of their backs turned toward each other. But they're all like, yeah, just sitting in a circle on the floor. Weird, right?
Demonic, I would say.
And like, if this happened at your house, you'd be like, which one of the kids did it? But there's no other kids in their house. So initially they're like, someone played a prank on us. Maybe it was Jeannie. But at the same time, they're thinking that's really weird of Jeannie to do and just not within her character.
Yeah.
They even are like, okay, well, maybe the stuffed animals all fell, but that doesn't make sense. They're in a perfect circle. They're all sitting up perfectly. So they even check the stuffed animals for like strings and magnets, and like, they're just like, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's
And
freaky.
they can't find anything amiss. Debra decides, I'm just going to call Jeannie and ask her about it. And
Yeah.
so she calls Jeannie and she asks her if she noticed anything strange in the nursery when she was there. And Jeannie's confused and she's like, no, like, what do you mean? Debra rephrases her question and asks if Jeannie moved any of the stuffed animals in the nursery.
Right.
Jeannie says, no, absolutely not. And Debra didn't tell her how she had found the stuffed animals. She just said they were moved. Jeannie ends up admitting that the reason she was so nervous when she stopped by Tony's parents earlier was because she got a terrible feeling when she went into the nursery. And then, but felt weird, like, mentioning it, because that would be weird to mention.
How are you going to tell newborn parents that?
Yeah. They're like, okay, it wasn't Jeannie, but they're also thinking it has to be someone who's just playing a practical joke.
Yeah.
Because it's just too weird.
Right.
So they go back into the nursery and place all of the stuffed animals back and turn off the light and head down the stairs. When they get to the bottom of the stairs, Karen glances back up and is like, Debra, Tony, the light in the nursery is back on. So they all stand there for a minute like, what? They go back up. The light of the nursery is on. And there was a scruffy teddy bear that Debra had placed on a wicker chair in the bedroom. It was now lying face up on the floor.
Oh,
And this is literally seconds after they had just put everything back and all went downstairs together. So again, they're like checking to see if this could be strings or magnets or like someone trying to fuck with them.
I have chills. I literally just got chills because that freaked me out so bad.
They even checked upstairs being like, someone has to be in the house. No one's there. They put the bear back, turn off the light again.
Yeah.
Deborah says like, maybe it's a child ghost. And
hilarious.
yeah, but they leave it at that and they go back downstairs. They continue throughout the evening as they're hanging out downstairs to like glance up the stairs, see if the nursery light's back on, and it's not. At around 10 to 11, Deborah goes upstairs to use the bathroom, but everyone knows that she's freaked out, Tony's freaked out, Karen's freaked out.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, we'll stand at the bottom of the stairs while you go up and use the bathroom. But as soon as Deborah gets to the top of the stairs, she glances in the nursery and sees that the bear is on the floor again in the exact same spot, laying face up. The light's not on, but the bear is there again. She's like, oh my God. Tony and Karen come running up the stairs and they're all looking at it like, what is going on here? So Tony has a couple brothers. They wind up calling Tony's brother Larry and asking him to come over because he's a skeptical guy. He's very analytical, very logical. They're thinking like he can come over and like maybe give his input on what he thinks is going on.
Yeah.
Larry comes over. They're waiting for something to happen. Nothing's happening. They're checking on the nursery room. Nothing's going on. Deborah even says like out loud into the nursery room, like, it's okay, you can play now, like hoping that if it is a child ghost, something will happen. Nothing happens. They all go back downstairs, and just as Larry's about to leave, they notice that a beanbag bear, it was next to the TV, which it had been before, but now it was facing the other way, like facing away from the room.
Okay.
And facing the wall. They were like, I know it wasn't like that. No one put it like that. It must have just moved. So Larry is skeptical.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know what's going on. We don't know that it's paranormal, but I'll reach out to my boss because her sister is a well-known psychic that lives in California. He leaves, lets them know that he's going to reach out to this psychic. After Larry leaves, Tony also calls his mom to tell her what's going on at the house. She's like, guys, just come sleep over here. And they're like, no, we don't want to put you out. Like, there's 4 of us. We'll just stay here. But if activity increases or progresses, we'll come over. Activity continued throughout that night. Tony, Deborah, and Karen are like, Karen, there's no way you're sleeping alone on the couch. Like, everybody's scared. So they all decide that they're going to all sleep in the master bedroom. They go up to the master bedroom and immediately notice another thing that's amiss, which is this little hanging heart they had on the nursery room door, and it's turned around.
Ugh.
And Karen is like, I know I looked at that earlier because I was admiring it and it wasn't that way before.
That goes to saying, no love here.
They all get into the master bedroom and they realize that they forgot the VCR, the TV, and the movies. This is
most
in the
important
90s.
things.
Yeah. And that they were going to watch like movies in bed or whatever. Karen and Tony head back downstairs to grab those things. And they notice once again that the beanbag bearer has been turned back towards the wall because they had faced it forward when they realized it earlier. The next day, Tony heads off to work and Karen has to head home. So she leaves and it's just Debra and baby Taylor in the house. She's keeping an eye out for activity. She mentions that a lot of times Tony would come home late from work because he would stop in at his parents' on his way home and visit with them. And on this night in particular, the hours just kept ticking by and he wasn't coming home. And she was like feeling very creeped out, worried, all of those feelings. I would be pissed.
I would be pissed. I would kick my husband's ass the second he walked through that door. I'd be like, where the fuck were you?
Exactly.
This house is haunted, bitch.
Yes.
No stopping at your fucking mom and dad's.
Exactly.
What are you doing?
Exactly.
I wonder if did Tony stay at his mom's house without the wife and the baby?
No.
Oh, could you imagine?
I'd be pissed.
I'd go to jail that night.
Tony arrives home and the second he gets in the door, he's like, I've got information. His mom had called someone. She remembered that her friend's daughter had used to rent that house as well.
No way.
Yeah. So she had called her friend up and said, hey, I know your daughter lived here. Did anything strange happen to her in the house? The friend says, I'll ask her, calls her back later and says, well, it's funny you mention it, but yes, there were a couple of strange things. One of the things was that the friend's daughter often smelled this foul smell in the house. which is weird. She also had a young son who slept in the room that's now the nursery. She would always scold him for leaving his toys out, and he would always deny that it was him. But of course, at the time, she was like, sure, like, of course it's not you. She also had a daughter, though, and her daughter would always play with an imaginary friend in the walk-in closet. And this imaginary friend's name was Sallie. Once they moved out of the house, her daughter never mentioned Sallie again.
Kind of weird. It's because Sallie stayed in the house.
Was Sallie an imaginary friend? Tony tells Debra this, and then Larry calls and says, my boss talked to the psychic Barbara, and this is the information that she gave. She'd never met the Pickmans before, Tony and Debra Pickman. She'd never been to their house, and she lived in California at the time that she did the reading.
Right.
She sensed the presence of a young girl between the age of 5 and 13. She believed that toys were most likely moving in the home of their own accord, which was likely the ghost playing. She suggested that the baby could see this little girl.
Yeah, I believe that.
And specifically asked if the baby had been waking up a lot throughout the night. Kind of weird, right?
Oh, man.
She also gives a recommendation that the family tries to communicate with this little girl ghost. She says you guys should tell her she can stay as long as she's well behaved. If she wants to play with toys, she needs to put them away after. And that they should assert that the house belongs to them.
Yeah.
And that this ghost would have to follow their rules if she wanted to stay.
Oh, God.
Before ending the conversation, though, she mentions one more thing. And she says this name kind of insistently kept coming up in her mind, and it was Sallie, which was also the name.
Oh, the imaginary friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking Sallie.
Fucking Sallie.
That's such a creepy name, too. I find it very creepy. Of course, the ghost name is Sallie.
I know. It's such a ghost.
Come on. It's such a ghost.
Such a little ghost girl name.
It is.
The information that Barbara gave matched up so much with what was going on that at this point, Tony and Debra are like, okay, maybe our house is haunted.
Yeah. No shit.
There's also something I have to mention, though, because I think it's really interesting, and this you'll see throughout the story. You know, Debra had just given birth. This ghost is allegedly a little girl. She's feeling very maternal after just giving birth. And I think this plays also a big part in how she acts with having a ghost in the house.
Okay.
She starts thinking a lot about SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. And she starts wondering if Sallie has been waking up Taylor to remind him to breathe.
Oh.
And she's like, if that's the case, like, they owe her gratitude and they're in debt to her. And so this is still the next day after their crazy night of all that activity. So at around 10:30, Tony and Debra head upstairs, and all of a sudden, Tony freezes, stops dead in his tracks, and Deborah's like, what's going on? They had a wall of family photos.
Okay.
One of the photos of Debra and Tony was perfectly straight, but turned completely upside down.
Oh, I don't like that.
I know. It literally puts a pit in my stomach.
Anything when it's turned upside down, especially across, that gets me. But like even a photo, like what
does it mean?
Does that mean?
Fucking weird.
I don't like it.
No, thank you.
Like, fuck off, Sallie.
The activity continues the next day. Tony's other brother, George, comes over. He's like, he's skeptical. He doesn't think they have a ghost.
Yeah.
But him and Tony are in the living room, and Tony has a camera, and he points it at the beanbag bear that they've told George has turned on its own.
Yeah.
And he says, Sallie, if you're in here, smile, and snaps a picture. As he does that, George shouts and is like, I just saw that bear move. Tony quickly snaps another photo. And when they developed the pictures later, they did find like this weird anomaly in the photos.
Oh, God.
In the center near where the bear was, it was blurred, but everything around it was perfectly like detailed and focused. So just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah. They see this happen, and Tony's initial reaction is like, let's get out of here. So he goes to run to upstairs where Debra and the baby are.
Yeah.
He turns around. George is literally can't move. Tony described that he could see that George was trying to walk, but couldn't. It was like something was holding his legs.
Oh my God.
Yeah. At the time, George also felt like this very icy cold sensation. This is where things really start to escalate.
Okay.
They're all freaked out after this. George can move now. They're like, let's get out of here. Let's go to mom and dad's for a while and decompress. George heads right out the house. He's like, I'm waiting outside.
Yeah, no kidding. Goodbye.
Like, he's freaked out. Debra and Tony are rushing around the house, grabbing everything, putting everything together. Debra places Taylor's car seat on the sofa while she's putting things in the diaper bag. Tony goes to put Taylor in the car seat and buckle him into it. As he's doing that, he yells out and he's like, ow! And he's like, I think something just bit me on my back. They think it's a bug or something. They're like, well, we're not going to worry about it now. We need to get out of here. So they get all packed up and they leave. They get to Tony and George's parents' house and they're telling the parents everything that happened. While they're recounting the story, Debra remembers Tony yelling out in pain.
Right.
So she lifts the back of his shirt.
No.
Yeah. There she discovered 3 long bleeding scratches. They were 5 to 6 inches in length.
My God.
And she said it was on Tony's lower back. She was right next to him when it happened. It wouldn't have been possible for him to scratch himself there. And Debra at this point is like, could Sallie have done this? Was this Sallie? Like, are we in danger? Is Taylor in danger? Like, Debra decides to contact the psychic Barbara. She hasn't spoken to Barbara directly yet. So she decides she's going to contact Barbara. She asks Barbara a lot of questions like, is there any way we can tell when Sallie's present? Could she reach objects at much higher than her?
Right.
Barbara's response, I don't like it.
Oh, no.
This response kept me up at night.
Stop. Oh my God, what? Oh my God, you gulped. Oh my God.
She says, Sallie can go anywhere she wants. She can be hovering above your bed. She can be crawling on the ceiling.
Oh my God.
Crawling on the ceiling.
Crawling on, I picture her crawling on the ceiling with her head bent all the way back looking down at you. That's how I'm picturing it. It's freaking me out. I hate it.
She could move wherever she wants unseen through the house is what Barbara says.
Oh.
Yeah. But she also reassures Debra. She's like, you know what? I can tell Sallie likes the baby and sees herself as protective figure. She wants to protect the baby. And she also says, you know, Sallie is a little girl. She also wants attention and acknowledgement.
Right.
She again reminds Debra to talk to Sallie firmly and make sure she knows the house rules.
Right.
She also literally tells Debra that if Sallie misbehaves, to punish her.
I'm sorry. Excuse me?
Deborah's like, okay, this is getting out of hand. How the fuck am I supposed to punish a ghost?
Literally.
She's like, well, how do I punish her? And Barbara's like, just send her to her room. And Deborah's like, okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Debra, also thinking of the scratches on Tony, asks Barbara if she's sure that Sallie is benign. And Barbara's like, I'm sure, maybe because of the heightened anxiety, she thought Tony was gonna hurt Taylor or something.
Okay.
And she also tells Debra that she feels like Sallie was potentially abused by a male when she was alive and doesn't like men.
Tony's fucked.
Tony's gonna have a rough ride.
I believe it.
Debra and Tony head back home after visiting with his parents. And Deborah's like, all right, I'm going to give this a try and I'm going to talk to Sallie.
I'm going to parent this ghost.
Yes, literally.
Yep.
Could you imagine?
Nope.
At first she says, Sallie, can you come in here? And they just hope that she came into the room. They don't fucking know, obviously.
You're just talking to literally nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
Assuming she's there.
Exactly.
Hilarious.
And she's like, okay. She explains that what Sallie did to Tony, scratching him, is unacceptable. That Taylor is their baby, not hers. That they don't mind if she plays with Taylor nicely, but she is not to interfere with their role as parents.
Okay.
She tells her, you got to put your toys away after you play with them. No playing with the pictures on the walls. No waking up the baby in the middle of the night. And no hurting people. Pretty good rule.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
While Debra was giving her speech, Tony was watching their cats. All 3 of the cats were sitting in the dining room and staring up towards the ceiling. And their heads were all kind of like moving in unison, like they were all watching something that Debra and Tony couldn't see.
Ugh, it's fucking Sallie crawling on the fucking ceiling.
Probably.
Jesus.
Yeah. So Debra notices Tony watching this and then notices it as well. They're kind of like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Right then the phone rings. So Debra says, Sallie, we're going to continue this conversation after I talk on the phone.
Oh my God.
So funny. She answers the phone. It's Barbara. Barbara basically says, you know what? I'm really interested about the activity in your house. And I'm going to be in Kansas City in a couple of days for a radio show. Could I come by the house?
Oh.
Yeah. Debra and Tony agree. They
Mhm.
think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And after the call, Debra goes back, talks to Sallie, and is like, reiterates the rules and says a very special person is going to come here in a couple of days and help us to all learn how to live with each other.
Oh God.
Then this like maternal feeling comes to Debra, and she's like, hey, Sallie, would you like to play with some crayons?
Terrible idea. Kids and crayons just don't mix in general. A ghost child with crayons. I don't know why. I just don't like that.
She's like, I'm going to leave a paper and some crayons for you in the nursery. If you wanted to draw a picture or write something, we'll put it up on the fridge.
It's going to be something terrifying.
While she's doing this, Tony is looking at her like, you're fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Literally.
And I'll also mention, like, Tony had an experience when he was a kid in his bedroom.
Oh.
He had an experience where he saw a man looking at him from his closet.
No.
And he was terrified. He stayed away from the room and the closet for years and years after.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he was very religious, very Catholic. Although it's way more accepted in Catholicism now to talk about the paranormal.
Right.
It really wasn't back then. For him, he's really skeptical, and he's like, I don't know about this. That night, Debra did leave out a paper and crayons. On the paper, she wrote, hi, Sallie, how old are you? And over the next couple of days, Debra makes a conscious effort to talk to Sallie positively.
Yeah.
So she's just chatting to her randomly. And she even goes as far as to one day when she's changing Taylor in the nursery, she has him on the change table and she has to go run and grab something. He can't turn over yet. He's still a little baby. So she says, hey, Sallie, I need to run out of the room quickly. Can you keep an eye on Taylor and make sure he's safe? And she runs out and goes back in. When she goes back in, she thanks Sallie and says, you did a great job.
Oh, God.
Yeah. The night before Barbara comes to visit, Tony has a really vivid dream about a little girl named Sallie, accompanied by a little boy named Jonathan, sitting under a tree in the yard.
Okay.
And he is a pretty good artist. So he sketches what Sallie looked like in his dream.
Oh, okay.
We'll also link all these photos.
Yeah, that's Sallie.
Yeah.
She's cute.
Yeah, she is cute, hey? Finally, it is July 29th, the day of Barbara's visit. Early that afternoon, Debra decides to go talk to their neighbor, Carol. She's lived in the house north of theirs for like 14 years. You make small talk at first. She feels kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But she's like, hey, do you know about anything strange that has gone on in our house? Her neighbor, Carol, looks puzzled but curious and says, no, like I don't know about anything. And Debra winds up feeling comfortable enough to tell Carol about all of these situations, events, and activity that they've had. Carol then admits that there is something strange that she notices, kind of. So Carol says, hey, like, do you always leave the nursery light on for Taylor to sleep? Deborah's like, well, actually, no.
Yeah.
He's still sleeping in a cradle next to our bed in the master bedroom. And Carol's like, well, the light in the nursery is always on at night. Deborah's like, there's a night light in there, and we leave the hall light on a lot. Like, you're probably just seeing that light.
Right.
Carol says, no, we can see through the window that it's the main light.
Yeah.
And it's also on a lot when you guys aren't home.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And so Deborah's like, okay, that is weird. Tony gets home from work that afternoon, and his brother George comes over because this is very interesting. A psychic's coming to their house because of a haunting.
Right.
So George comes over, and he also happens to bring his laundry. He's going to do laundry at their house. He goes to the washing machine to throw it in the dryer and notices that there is, in the bathroom down there, there's a night light on in the bathroom. When he walks back towards the dining room, towards Debra and Tony, he glances in the bathroom again and realizes it's not a night light, it's candles burning. He hadn't noticed it before, and he's like, oh, you guys lit some candles. He mentions it to Debra and Tony, and they're like, what? No, we didn't. So they go look, and Debra says, like, she had a lot of decorative candles throughout the house.
That are not to be lit, probably.
Yeah. So she was like, we never light these candles, but randomly they're lit.
Oh,
She said that the wax, there was only a small pool, so it must not have been
it's a
lit
crush.
longer for even more than a minute.
Oh, ghost who can play with fire. Awesome.
Debra is like, now she's got to scold Sallie again. She's like, Sallie, we have another rule. No playing with fires.
Fair.
Yeah. Barbara arrives at 8:30
Mm-hmm.
in the evening and starts sussing out the environment.
Right.
And starts talking to Sallie right away. And all of a sudden says to Debra, you do a lot of things that bug her.
Oh,
She says you're too bossy.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Every mother ever.
Barbara says Sallie is young. She finds it hard to remember all the rules. And she suggests that the Pickmans occasionally repeat the rules so that she can remember them.
Okay.
She also speaks in a childlike voice a lot throughout this visit, like channeling Sallie, which is kind of strange.
Okay. I'd be so freaked out.
Barbara says to Debra, it's like you've adopted a little girl.
God.
Be patient, understanding,
Mhm.
but firm. She's very young. But can you imagine? You didn't sign up for this.
No freaking way. Especially not a little girl named
Yeah.
Sallie with a
Yeah.
creepy name who can crawl on your ceiling and watch you while you're sleeping.
And
no.
Yes. And it's like, so you have to parent this child that you literally is invisible.
A ghost?
Yes. And can
Light fires?
no, thank you. So Barbara's talking to Sallie. She discovers that Sallie is 7 years old. She also asks Debra if Sallie has been waking up baby Taylor throughout the night. And Deborah's like, oh yeah, she has been. So Barbara tells Sallie, you can't do that. But she also tells Debra, I can't tell if Sallie was waking him up to play or waking him up to remind him to breathe. And, you know, Debra hadn't told Barbara about her worry with SIDS.
Yeah.
So she's like, like maybe that's what it was. So this whole thing is giving her anxiety, but also at the same time, making her feel grateful towards Sallie if that was the case.
Of course, yeah.
Barbara also tells Debra that Sallie likes Debra. She likes her because she's the mommy
Aw.
and that she's acting as the baby's guardian angel. Very sweet, right?
Yeah, it's kind of cute.
Mhm. Would you be feeling comforted or how would you feel, do you think?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
No,
I'm not sure. I wouldn't like it. I would not like that.
I think I would be pretty freaked out.
I don't want someone else watching my baby. No, thank you. I'll do it. Especially someone who's already like not alive, because you're not alive.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't understand. I'm not going to lie. What do you mean?
You obviously didn't do that good of a job.
She's
in your-
7.
in your own life.
Barbara also tells Debra Sallie doesn't need matches or lighters to start fires. She could just do it with her energy.
Great.
Yeah. She reminds Debra again, like, just be firm, but also this might help. Sallie wants something of her own to play with. So maybe like give her her own toy or something.
Okay, fair enough.
When Barbara brings this up, Deborah's like, okay, yeah, for sure. And I also I left her a paper and some crayons. And Barbara's like, yep, she's trying to use it. It's difficult for her to use, but she's trying.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to answer you. And Deborah's like, I never told Barbara that I asked her a question.
Oh, God.
So she's like,
yeah.
She's like, this psychic is definitely knowing something that she would have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
This part's really creepy to me.
Oh, okay, what?
Debra and Tony ask if Sallie is in the bedroom with them while they sleep. And Barbara was like, yes, she is. And she says, keep Taylor in his cradle next to your bed for as long as possible, because even though, Sallie is wanting to protect him, she is a child and accidents can and do happen.
I don't like the sound of that.
They then ask Barbara if Sallie will continue with the activity when others are around, like friends and family. And Barbara says she might, but she's definitely more comfortable with them because they're there all the time. And then she channels Sallie, and speaks in a childlike voice.
Are you haunting this house? Could you imagine?
Well, Sallie wouldn't be asking herself if she was haunting the house.
I thought Barbara was talking in a baby voice.
Yeah, but only when she channels Sallie. Sallie's speaking through her.
Oh.
Or Sallie says something and then Barbara repeats it in her. Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. So she goes, I'll show up for your friends if you want. Creepy.
Oh, I don't like that.
Tony also showed Barbara the sketch he had done of Sallie, and Barbara's like, yeah, that's a really good likeness of her. Like, she looks a lot like that.
Wow. She looks very young in that picture. I know we said that she's 7. She looks younger.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right. And you know what? We will get to that later because that is a point in this book as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think that maybe she wasn't being totally forthcoming about her age.
Okay.
Or she didn't know, like,
yeah.
How many times have I asked your daughter, how old are you? And she has definitely told me some wrong ages many times.
Yes. That's true.
After all of this, they ask Barbara if she wants to see the nursery. She hadn't been upstairs yet. So she goes and looks at the nursery and tells them which corner Sallie is in. She's like, she's standing right there now. And very shortly after also says that everyone has to get out because Sallie wants them out. Yeah. Okay. Everyone in the room had also been feeling like very claustrophobic. Debra had noticed that Barbara was having trouble breathing. And that's when Barbara was like, get out. So everyone left except for Barbara, Debra, and the baby. And then everyone, they felt better. Barbara's breathing went back to normal. I feel like with things like that, it's so hard because it's like, if I were to witness Barbara doing that, it's just so hard to not feel like it's acting.
Yeah, I agree.
Even though
I agree.
She seems like a very reputable psychic.
Yeah, she clearly knows what she's talking about.
But it's it's just, I don't know, it's just so abnormal, I guess.
Yeah.
Later, they're back downstairs and they're all chatting when all of a sudden the overhead light turns out. And everyone there is like, thank you, Sallie. Because they're like, cool. She showed us some activity. And a few moments later, the light turns back on. Barbara lets Debra know some final things about Sallie. She says that as a spirit, Sallie can bring smells to people that of things she likes.
Interesting.
For instance, she likes the smell of broccoli, which is weird because it smells like farts.
I like the smell of broccoli.
That's weird.
I don't think it smells like farts. I think it smells like a vegetable.
It smells like farts. In the comments, tell us, do you think broccoli smells like farts? Kool-Aid is another one she likes the smell of. And
what's the smell of Kool-Aid? It smells like water.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Sweet. My kids drink Kool-Aid sometimes and it smells like water.
Maybe you don't put enough in it. Maybe you're shitty at making
buy the
Kool-Aid.
package. Like the pack. Like those little Kool-Aid jammers. I don't know. I've never noticed. I'm going to go home and sniff one. I feel like it doesn't.
Have you ever made Kool-Aid though?
Yes, maybe with the powder.
Maybe it has a
or with the
smell.
squirt stuff. Well, the powder, you definitely have a smell.
Well, that's what they used back then. They didn't have.
That's true.
They didn't have the little packs, and they didn't have.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is 93.
Yeah.
Okay. We figured this out. Moving on.
Got it.
So she tells Debra this. Debra's like, oh, so could Sallie drink the Kool-Aid? And Barbara says, no, the same as if you set a spot for her at the dinner table. She could sit there with you, but she can't eat.
Imagine though.
Yeah.
You have a plate and some cutlery and you see the fork pick up and then broccoli up towards where I'm about to be just drops on the floor.
Yeah. Or disappears.
No.
That would be fucking cool.
No, I would not like that.
She then tells Debra that Sallie actually does hang around them while they sit at the dinner table and eat supper.
Oh.
Then says in this childlike voice, channeling Sallie, she goes, I stand there.
I gotta stand. Makes it so much creepier.
Does it?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that what your reaction is, because Debra's reaction is feeling really sad. Like that, they're having this family time and they're eating supper and this little girl's just standing there watching.
That is sad when you say it like that. I just think it's creepy that she's standing there. Sit down. Pull up a chair. Sit on the table, for fuck's sake. Just don't stand.
Yeah. And then, Debra's thinking also, like, how sad is it? There's this little girl. She wants attention. She can't get a hug from anyone. She can't get a cuddle. Like, it's just, she thinks of how lonely that would be,
Oh, I can't imagine.
And it seems like Tony is thinking the same thing because they decide that they're going to start putting a place for her at dinner time and pulling up the chair for her.
That's sweet.
They decide that they want to start including her in everyday life. So over the next couple days, they're trying to do that, but it's harder said than done.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to remember to speak to her or include her when you can't see her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of times, Debra would sit Taylor down in front of the TV, have Sesame Street on, and afterwards be like, oh, why didn't I ask Sallie if she wanted to watch it? Or stuff like that. But it's just all very interesting, these feelings that Debra are having towards this ghost. Very, maternal.
Yeah, absolutely.
After Barbara leaves, the neighbors stop by, Carol and her husband, Don. They bring 2 dolls.
Oh, wow.
One of them is like naked and dirty. Like it was their children's dolls when they were kids.
Okay.
But they're like, this is what we have. Like, here's a peace offering.
Okay.
Yeah. Deborah's like, thank you so much. Tony and George grab the dolls. They go to put it in the nursery. But immediately they come back down the stairs, dolls still in hand. And they're like, the stuffed animals have moved in the room again. And something is written on the paper you left for Sallie.
No.
Yeah. So everyone goes upstairs to investigate, and the scruffy doll that Debra always leaves on the wicker chair is off of the chair, and there's childlike writing on the paper in a different color than the crayon that Debra left out that says 7-like. I actually have a picture of it to show you.
Okay. Oh, I don't like that.
Over the next few months, Debra continued to talk to Sallie in a positive way. She would even like tell Sallie things like, we love you. She would draw pictures for Sallie every day or leave her questions.
Yeah.
She never got another response, but she just kept trying in case she could receive something from Sallie.
Right.
A strange thing, though, is the day after Barbara's visit and the dolls being dropped off, Debra is like, I want to clean this doll for Sallie, the old dirty naked one.
Yeah.
And it's also a larger one. She gives the doll a bath and she literally says out loud to Sallie, like, let's give this doll a bath just like we do for Taylor. This can be like your own baby. She gets a little dress to put on the doll, puts it in the corner where Barbara said Sallie likes to hang out in the nursery.
Right.
Debra decides to also take a bunch of photos of the dolls in that corner to see if she can get anything. And later, the photos are developed, and there is this really strange, it kind of like almost looks like smoke. So there is a picture of it as well, and it's kind of surrounding the dolls. Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, I don't like that at all.
Neither does Debra, actually. She's like, that's very dark and ominous looking.
Why is it so dark and oh,
in the actual photo, the smoky looking stuff was more of a blue color. Debra ends up sending the pictures to Barbara, and Barbara says like that is Sallie showing her emotion that she's happy.
Okay.
Deborah's like happy about that, but she's also having this feeling of dread.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Why? Probably because she has to kill the husband.
One afternoon, Debra puts Taylor down for a nap and leaves the baby monitor on the windowsill, goes downstairs to clean and do things around the house.
Right.
She's expecting to hear something from the baby monitor for a long time, but doesn't. So she winds up going in to check on Taylor. And nothing is strange except for that the baby monitor has been turned upside down, which is just...
I don't like
upside
that.
down.
I know. Why?
I don't know.
What's
it gives
that
me
mean?
the creeps too, though.
It just means I don't know. I don't know what it means, but I don't like it.
Yeah. She takes this as, for some reason, maybe Sallie is upset with the hand-me-down dolls and wants like a new doll of her own.
Fair enough.
So her and Tony's brother George go out shopping and buy Sallie a new doll of her very own. Debra goes home. She puts a box together with a few things that she is going to give Sallie. And then she also starts wrapping the doll. She takes the twist ties off of the cardboard, but puts the doll back in the package and then wraps it.
Smart.
Also, as she's wrapping it, Tony comes home and is again looking at her like she's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And he's like, what is she going to do? Unwrap it? And
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. And Deborah's like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
It's special.
So now we're in August of 1993. And it's shortly after Debra has put the gifts in the corner of the nursery. Over the next couple days, she keeps checking. They're always in the same place. Nothing's changed until
Dun, dun, dun.
Until one day, she grabs Taylor from his crib and winds up changing his diaper in the master bedroom on the bed.
Okay.
Realizes she forgot something in the nursery, goes back into the nursery, and is shocked to find that the doll, the new doll, is lying in Taylor's crib. However, the gift is not unwrapped.
What?
The doll is out of the package and out of the gift, but the gift is not unwrapped.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I would shit my pants.
100%. I'd be out of there. At that point, like, I'm sorry, but no.
Yeah.
Sorry, but no. Because if there's wrapping paper on the floor, like, okay, cute. Like, she opened the present, but like, nothing. What did you do? Like, she levitated it out of the box magically and like, no, that doesn't work.
It's weird.
That can't happen. No.
But it did.
I know, and I don't like that at all.
I don't like it.
Very creepy. This is a bad child. Sallie is very bad. I don't like her. Time out for the rest of eternity. No more hauntings for you.
The next day, Debra had just washed a bunch of baby bottles and is doing something else in the dining room. Here's a commotion. Here's a crash.
Mm-hmm.
Goes into the kitchen and all of the baby bottles are like on the floor. She immediately thinks it's Sallie. And so she says, Sallie, I actually put an old baby bottle in that box I gave to you that you can use with your baby, not these new ones. I'll show it to you. So she goes upstairs to show Sallie the old bottle in the box. In the box, there's the old bottle, but there's also one of the new ones. So that's weird.
I hate it.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
The following Monday, Tony's mother came to the house because she was going to help Debra put up wallpaper.
Okay.
Debra was surprised that Tony's mother agreed to come to the house.
Yeah.
Because she was uncomfortable with the ghost thing and made no secret that she thought that they should get rid of Sallie and would often joke, like, when you guys aren't home, I'm going to get a priest over there and exorcise your house.
Oh, she's in trouble. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She also would often mention that she felt like there was something evil in the house. She winds up coming over and she's helping Debra with the wallpaper.
Right.
She repeatedly throughout this time would go into the dining room and check on Taylor, who was sleeping in his cradle. One of the times she goes to check on Taylor, starts walking back towards Debra and towards the kitchen. And all of a sudden, Taylor lets out a scream, like a painful one, like something hurt him. It sounded as though he'd like been pinched or poked or something like that.
Yeah.
Debra instinctively was like, that was Sallie. And wanted to scold her, but was like, this is too weird. I can't do this in front of Tony's mom.
Yeah.
And also, I don't want to make her feel super uncomfortable.
Right.
But Tony's mom surprised everyone because she went and picked up baby Taylor and scolded Sallie herself. She goes, Sallie, if you hurt this baby again, I'm going to spank your butt.
If you can find it.
Tony had been upstairs. He heard the commotion. So he came downstairs and he winds up bringing Taylor onto the couch with him. Debra and Tony's mom go back into the kitchen, doing the wallpaper again. And then all of a sudden, Tony yells out, Debra, you better have a talk with her. They go back into the dining room and there's a glass globe from an oil lamp lying on the floor. Tony literally witnessed the globe levitate off of the oil lamp. He described it as like a slow motion rocket. It floated about 3 feet across the room and then dropped to the floor when he hollered Debra's name. He was like, I think she's scared of you, Deb. Quite a few more things happen over the next little while. One day, George is sleeping on the couch and all of a sudden feels something land on his chest, opens his eyes, and the beanbag bear, the infamous beanbag bear, is on his chest, like staring at him.
Ew.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Another time, Debra and Tony have friends over and they wind up talking about Sallie. They wind up in the nursery and they're trying to get Sallie to do something to show these friends of theirs that there is in fact a ghost. And Debra winds up saying, Sallie, because she knows Sallie doesn't like strangers in the nursery. She's like, Sallie, if you do something, we'll all leave.
She's not a show pony. You're going to really piss this girl off.
So all of a sudden, the lights go out in the nursery and then come back on. And then the lights in the hallway go off and then come back on.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Another really crazy thing that happens is one day it's just Debra and baby Taylor home. Tony's at work. Debra's watching one of her favorite shows and doing dishes on the commercial breaks. There's no PVR back then. But every time she goes into the kitchen, she notices this loud static sound comes from the TV. She starts to think that it's Sallie and that Sallie doesn't want her to leave the living room. This is just where her thought process is going. She tells Sallie, just leave the TV. she's like, after the show and after I'm done cleaning in the kitchen, I'll read you a book. After the show and after she's done in the kitchen, she brings all the kids' books into the living room, and as if Sallie is sitting right there, like shows each one and is like, do you want me to read this one? Do you want me to read this one? Do you want me to read this one? When she asks Sallie if she wants to read this specific one, which is Taylor's favorite, the static goes on the TV really loud.
Ew, I don't like that.
Yeah. So she's like, oh my gosh, like I'm communicating with Sallie. So she keeps going to see if there's any other books that it happens with. It doesn't. And she decides to go through the whole list again and again. The static happens with just the book. That is Taylor's favorite.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So she gets into the rocking chair, invites Sallie to sit in her lap, and reads the book to Sallie.
Oh no.
The relationship that Debra has with Sallie is really progressing.
Yeah.
Like she's very much feeling the motherly instinct for this child.
Yeah.
She would frequently talk to Sallie. She would even invite her to cuddle at night in bed because Tony's not there.
Oh my God.
There was a part of her that was like, was wondering if this was stopping Sallie from moving on, but at the same time just had these strong mothering instincts that this little girl needs love and care and attention and affection.
Yeah.
Sallie became an odd but meaningful part of the family. From here, the story starts to get quite dark.
No.
Yeah. So we're going to continue it in episode 2, but it gets fucking crazy.
I hate that. I hate that because so far, like I've gotten the chills a few times. It's creeping me out. But so far, she seems like creepy, but sweet little child.
Right.
I have a feeling that I know that she's going to get really mean. And I feel like it's going to be towards the dad.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
And I feel like the baby's going to get hurt.
Do you?
I do. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I feel like she's going to turn. I think she's going to like be super possessive over that baby.
We'll see if you're right. But I'm curious about what your like thoughts are. Like, do you think that this ghost is a little girl, or do you think that something else could be going on?
I mean, well, I don't know. I want to believe that it's a little girl though, because the dad drew the picture and he had the dream, and the psychic says that that's an accurate representation of her. But like, is it possible that maybe she was a little girl that was like possessed by something, or like a scary man or something, and that she died while she was possessed and somehow stayed? I don't know.
That's a theory. It's an interesting theory. I feel like for me, there's something about ghost children that really creep me out.
So much creepier than a regular ghost.
Yeah. Especially because like kids can be bad.
And kids are freaky. Like like alive children.
Real children that
freaky.
Are like living children.
My kids scare the shit out of me. A dead child? No, thank you.
Would you rather segment? Would you rather stay in a haunted room with a child ghost that pulls pranks on people, or hang out in a living room where an adult entity roams and is known to get aggressive if provoked?
No, a child.
Really?
Yeah, I don't want to get hurt.
Even if the child's going to be like playing pranks on you and stuff?
I feel like a prank is a prank. I could handle it.
Okay.
I can handle a prank.
Yeah. The pranks could be really freaky though. You know what? I would choose the adult ghost. Do you know why? Because it's aggressive if provoked. I just wouldn't provoke it.
But you don't know what you could do that would provoke it.
Yeah, I guess
like
that's
you could
true.
literally touch your hair and it'd be like, fuck you. Why would you, like, he'll get pissed off.
Maybe
his ex-wife used to touch her hair and stuff, and it reminds him of that.
Sure.
You never know. I'm
guess,
just saying. You
I
never
guess.
know. Anything. You could breathe too. That kind of shit pisses me off if you breathe too loud. Like,
you're chewing too loud.
I hate that.
And you have provoked the aggressive ghost.
Literally.
Stop chewing so fucking loud.
Literally, though.
Yeah. That is it for this time. Buckle up for part 2
I'm excited.
of the Sallie story.
Yeah.
And wear your diaper.
Okay.
Do you have diapers?
I have lots, yes.
For her children. Oh, maybe I will just let you guys know. They're for her children, not for her. Slap a pair on before you come over. You're gonna need it.
I'll double up.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Just a Little Stitious.
We hope you had just as much fun getting creeped out as we did.
If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review if you would be so kind.
And be sure to follow The Queer Crypt on YouTube to watch us in video form.
We'd also love to hear from you. Send your eerie encounters to jusalittlestitiouspod@gmail.com.
And remember, we're not superstitious.
We're just a little stitious.